Life and faith, the two are intimately connected. For more than 2 decades, Life and Faith Television has painted pictures and told stories of faith journeys here in southwestern Ontario. Join us now as we continue the tradition. We explore the diversity in our lives of faith and the faith of our lives.
Good morning and welcome to Life and Faith. On today's show, our hosts speak with folks whose life work and journeys have taken them from Canada to France to Mozambique. We feature a playwright and teacher, a husband and wife missionary team, and a lay person working towards keeping their church building environmentally functional. We begin the show today with Dan Smoke as he interviews Thomson Highway, who was recently in London to view the production of his play, The Res Sisters. Their conversation gives us a little insight into Thomson's journey.
Because when I was, this really ages me, but when I was going to university in the early 70s, I was part of the first wave of Native people to go into university. It was rare prior to 1970 that, at least in the north and the west where I come from, for a Native person to finish high school. It was rare. Even grade school. Where I come from, when I was a kid in the 50s and 60s, getting a grade 7 was an accomplishment for many reasons. One of which is the enormous distance. For us, where I was born, on the Manitoba-Nunavut border, the closest school was 300 miles away. Well, that's 500 kilometers now. But we have those kinds of geographical realities. Northern and Western Native people have those kinds of geographical realities to always deal with. These immense expenses of just staying in touch with the family, plane tickets. It's always been like that. So that's prevented a lot of kids from finishing high school and going on to university. And then, of course, there was the subject matter. There was no Native material being taught in any university across Canada, and so on and so forth. But so back then, when I came here, I think I was only one of 20 Native students at the University of Western Ontario. I transferred here from the University of Manitoba. And there, too, I was one of about 20 Native students at this immense university of 22,000 students. So if you took that average, if you take the University of Manitoba and the University of Western Ontario as two perfectly representative universities and Canadian universities, then that you could safely say that the average Native attendance of Native students at universities across Canada was less than 0.01%. Yeah? And that was back then. And now, of course, a lot of things have changed, mostly for the better, most of which has to do with a great chunk of which has to do with the fact that there is now such a thing as Native literature that we people like myself, created from thin air, with the help of some wonderful people here, including here at Western. Yes. And now that I just come from teaching at the University of Manitoba a week. I did a week teaching Cree literature written in Cree, which is like my mother tongue, and written and published in Cree, which is like unheard of. Now it exists. So I was teaching that, and I learned that now, if there were 20 Native students in a student body of 22,000 students at the University of Manitoba back in 1970, which was my first year of university, there are now over 2,000 at that university alone. Never mind the University of Saskatchewan, Laurentian, Lakehead, Trent, and so on and so forth, right across the country. So we've changed the face of the country.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. Yes. Now you yourself, when you began to write your own and score your own productions, plays, like The Res Sisters, which we're going to be seeing tonight, that changed the representation of our story with The Res Sisters. That's effectively.
Well, that's changed. What I'm told that I'm told that was the big, that was the spark that lit the flame, so to speak. And that's not for me to say, that's for others to say, but that's just been said over and over again, so I guess I should start believing it. But it did change a lot of things, and it's, now we have, we've always been, well, let's put it this way. Prior to the existence of Native literature in this country, to put it brutally, the educational material, that was the third obstacle. The educational material that we had at our disposal, that was put at our disposal prior to 1970, was such that civilization arrived here in 1492, and that Native people were savages, quite bluntly. Right. We were portrayed as savages who went around scalping poor, innocent white people. Right. And of course, is that going to encourage you to stay in school? you know, with that kind of portrayal of your own people.
Right.
No, it didn't. It turned us all off, and most of us just left the academy at whatever level. And now, of course, we've one of the things we do as writers, we're rewriting history,
Right.
and we're discovering little by little, year by year, page by page, word by word, that what we were told back then is not necessarily the truth.
Right.
That we have extraordinary things contained in our languages, in our thinking, in our philosophies, in our theologies,
Yes.
and those are the things that we're putting back on the table, and we're making heads turn, because there are certain pieces of wisdom existent in those philosophies that are missing in European thought.
So did you grow up learning this spirituality and developing this faith and culture?
No, I
or
didn't.
Did it come as a result?
I I grew up in a Roman Catholic community, and heavily Catholicized by missionaries, French Canadian missionaries. My parents were extremely Catholic, so were my grandparents. Missionaries arrived at the time of my grandparents' generation up in northern Manitoba, the Manitoba-Nunavut border, which is where I come from. And so that's what the thinking I grew up with. And I had to work really, really hard to dig up stuff that was it was like kind of like for me to look up that information was like walking into a library that had been burnt to the ground, a library of wisdom
that's right.
that had been burnt to the ground. And you had to, and there were pieces of books and pages here and there that you could just sort of you had to put them together to be able to read what was there. So that's the metaphor that I like using. And it was in those burnt pages and that destroyed theology, so to speak, that we had to work for it. We really had to work for it. And we got the assistance of a tremendous number of people. We were students. We had teachers, right? And I had some great teachers, extraordinary teachers.
Yes. Well, you were very fortunate then to not have been indoctrinated in any way, shape, or form. You learned to think for yourself, and
well, I learned to think for myself because I was encouraged to think for myself. But that's what a university education is for, you know.
That's right.
When I teach at the university level, which is at least once a year, if not twice a year, usually once in October, once in May when I get back from France and when I leave for France in the fall. I usually tell my students, one goes to university to make their thinking universal. That's why a university is called a university. You know, it makes you thinking university. You come there to open your mind to all all this thinking, all these philosophies that exist on the planet, and if you listen during that period, during the class period, and during the term, and if you wish to reject it at the end of the term, then do so. But it exists, and here it is, and you are here to listen to it. Yes. And it's your choice whether you want to take it as your belief system or not. I don't force it down anybody's throat. I don't indoctrinate. I just show people that these things exist. And
you were saying that when you first started out as a performer, there were people. Performer. As a performer, there were people who were there to help you and guide you and give you work.
Oh,
and now you're doing that. For others, other emerging sax players, and
absolutely. Well, that's your responsibility as somebody more and more. I'm getting older, you know, and I'm not going to be around all the time. So my time is getting more and more limited. I realize, and I've amassed a certain amount of wisdom and experience, because everybody does. You know, that's life. That's how human life functions. So it's my responsibility as an older artist, as an elder artist, so to speak, to share that wisdom and that intelligence and that experience with the next generation.
That's all.
Well, that's one of the great pleasures of doing what I do is, I don't go out there to try to inspire people. I do it because it's so much fun. I do things. My ambition in life, my dream in life is, people ask me that question, what is your dream in life? My dream in life is to have a good time. My dream is very simple, to be a happy man, and I am. And there are certain things that make me happy, and one of them is to be surrounded by happy people. One of them is to hear the sound of human laughter. The sound of human laughter is my favorite sound in the world. I live for it. I will do anything to hear it, including make a fool of myself. And
that was your message to the youth, to the kids today. Have fun.
Yeah.
Just have fun. Don't
be joyful.
Yeah, exactly. Be cheerful. Don't take it too serious. Just have fun. Enjoy the role.
Yep.
Enjoy the moment. Well, brother, Jimmy Gwetch, for coming today and
thank you for
spending
having
this time.
Thank you for having
with
me.
us. and for this interview, for you to do this interview.